I was just thinking about some of the platforms and systems that I've had now year after year that have been so helpful for me and just have proven themselves to be good time savers or things that help me declutter my life a bit. Hey friends, what's up? It's Abby, and today I'll be sharing 10 different ways I streamline and organize my life. So the first one is not a system, but just something that's good to do on an annual basis, and that's an end of the year photo purge. I don't know about you, but I pay $2.99 for 200 gigabytes of extra iCloud storage, and I'm just really trying not to go over that and pay yet another thing monthly. Last year was the first year I did this, and I just took a few, actually like several hours, and I sat down and I went through all of my photos, and I did this on my desktop. So if you have a MacBook and you have an iPhone, then your photos automatically will sync to your laptop. It's just easier to view everything all at once on a larger screen and mass delete there. I go through, favorite, and organize everything, and then anything else that I'm like, I kind of want to keep this, or I'm unsure, but I might want this footage or this photo in the future, I throw onto an external hard drive. I literally have a folder on my external hard drive that is iPhone dump. Also, if you do an end of the year reflection, like a 2024 recap, this is great because you're just automatically going through all of these things already, so you can compile everything that you want to share from 2024 easily into the next year. The second, which is probably not a surprise to many people, but is Notion. I feel like there is a learning curve to it, and at the same time, it can be a bit, oh, I just see the person outside got a parking ticket. At the same time, it can be a bit overwhelming. I've had different things where I've put them in Notion and I'm like, honestly, it could have just been a simple check off to-do list, but I get distracted by wanting to make things pretty and more organized than they need to be. So I use Life with Riza's template and Jules Acree's end of year reset template. I love both of those. I love goal setting in Notion on a broader, more high level look. So I put all my goals and I type them out there. I also have a purchases page where I put things that I want to purchase but not impulse buy. I put the name and a link to the thing and then when I initially wanted it, and that helps me to just not purchase something right away and instead think about it and see if I really want it. I'm not trying to pay for Notion, so I don't want to put up too many pages. I've had it before where it's like, you've reached your limit. So I actually outsource a lot to Google Links or other things where I have a bit more storage. Google is my life. Google Calendar is my life. Google Sheets is my life. If I lost both of those things, we would be not in a good situation. I feel like I refer to my Google Calendar far too often that it's kind of embarrassing. Honestly, I'll be like, oh, what did I do this week? Let me look at my Google Calendar. But in all seriousness, I do my annual budget through Google, and I've had a lot of friends actually ask me if I budget, and I just use Google Sheets automated template that they have, and I have one that goes month by month, so I duplicate the template every month, and then another one is an annual, and that's nice because it shows a graph on a locked page that shows your income and your expenses every month and tracks it so you can see how much you're making. I do sit down at the end of every month. I have friends that sit down twice a month, which is probably the better way to do it, but I just sit down all at once and take several hours on one night to go through my budget. I go through my credit cards, I go through my bank statements, I go through my Venmo, all of those things, and I manually input everything. But it's just a great way to know where my money is going and just remind myself things that I purchased over the month. I also have a tab for all of my annual and monthly subscriptions that I just keep running, and there's a date that shows when they all renew. For example, I have Spotify, so it shows that, and Epidemic Sound for freelance, and Google Drive and iPhone storage. So anything that's a subscription base is in a different sheet so I can see all of that cleanly. I also have a tab for all freelance expenses. That's a whole other thing, but just for taxes, it helps immensely because I can have all the things that I'm able to write off for freelance work. There's a tab that shows all of my accounts that have an address attached to them. My health accounts, my library accounts, my credit and debit card accounts, anything that needs an address that needs to be updated. And this is super useful for whenever you move. I have moved so many times in the past 5 years, I think just living in New York, you move frequently as well. So when you move and you know you have to update all those things, or when you lose a debit card or a credit card or your purse or something, hopefully not your purse, but I had that happen to me earlier this year and it was kind of a mess, but it was really nice to have this sheet to just be like, okay, these are all the things I need to update ASAP. Most recently, which seems smart, at least to me, I've started tracking all of my doctor's appointments as well, whether it's your eye doctor, your dentist, your annual physical, or any other health things. I am putting these into a document that have the last date I visited the doctor I met with, because I am just getting tired of going to a new office and them asking me to fill out all this paperwork and I have to dig through my calendar to just figure out when I was last at X, Y, and Z. I already mentioned that Google Calendar is my life, and that truly is not an exaggeration, but more recently I've been using Google Tasks, which has been so good. It's so simple, and I love when you click done on a task, it kind of gives that haptic, is that what it's called? When it like buzzes a little bit and a little like party. I don't know, I like what happens when you check it off. It syncs with Google Calendar, it syncs with Gmail, I'm sure it syncs with other things that I do not know the capabilities of yet. I have a running list, and then I have a this week tab and a today tab. So the running list is just anything I think of randomly throughout the day, I'll just type it into my phone, and then I put everything from this week into this day on a daily basis to do. That made it sound complex, but honestly it just takes a couple minutes each day. Is it Dale Carnegie or one of the business books I read? The guy did that every night. He just was like, every night before I go to bed, I make a list of the things I need to do the next day. And it can't be more than 3 things because otherwise I don't get done. Mine is like 4 to 5, but depends how big the things are. Let's talk journaling. I still love pen to paper. I've been so inspired by Bird, the book by Anne Lamott, which I read for the first time a year and a half ago and will now be reading on an annual basis because she's just so inspiring. And one of the things she talked about was just her inch frame. She has a photo frame that's an inch big, and she's like, when I'm in a rut, I just try to write enough to fill that inch. It's that whole thing, like once you start something, it's a lot easier to keep going. I've been using journals from Public Supply. They're actually based, I want to say, in Brooklyn, which is cool because I started using them when I was in Michigan. And the pens I use are Muji. I use either the .38 or the .5. This is new. I love sticky notes, and I really like these pastel colored sticky notes. How fun. My plan originally was to take a Sharpie every night and write down the videos and content I wanted to make because it was just the goal to keep putting out content. But now I kind of just want to throw anything, like quotes or random thoughts, anything that inspires, people's names, and put them on my wall. I think by the end of the year, if my closet can just be filled with sticky notes, that will be pretty cool. The first thing that I look at when I'm getting ready in the morning is I'm going to my closet, and it is really nice to have a checkbox manually that I can put with Sharpie. The start actually was when I watched someone who was applying for jobs while I was applying for jobs, and they said every day that they applied, they wrote down what they did on a sticky note, and one day it could be they actually applied to a job. The next could be they did something that was just life-giving. Showing what they're doing on a day-to-day basis and putting it on the wall where they can see, and just showing that that is progress, because the job hunt, like many things in life, can be really daunting and unknown, and I think it's an easy process to go through where it just feels like you're making no progress at all. So to be able to see a visual to your progress can be really helpful. I do really like the idea of filling it with quotes. I live for quotes. My Pinterest literally used to be all quotes. I should go through and try to find some. External hard drives have also changed my life. I will never have enough laptop storage. Part of that is just the nature of me freelancing photography, but in general, even for things like phone storage, they can be so nice to have, especially as a backup, because you just never know what could happen to things these days, especially with tech. Definitely get a solid state instead of an HDD, just because I believe there's not a fan, so there's no moving parts, and it's just safer and better to travel with as well. I like to offload anything that is too embarrassing to be permanently on my camera roll. For example, times when I have just like completely broken down and like recorded myself, or times when I'm just like dancing around and I'm like, I'm gonna record myself, but it shouldn't be on my camera roll all the time. Once you add it to your hard drive, it's pretty nice because you can just sort all of your data by date. I just wait every year to buy SD cards and hard drives on Black Friday. I've been using one by Samsung. It's 2 terabytes, but this year I bought the SanDisk one, which a lot of my friends use the SanDisk one, and I see why. I like it. I also like that it has a carabiner attachment, and I believe it's a bit more water resistant. They can be a bit pricey, but especially if you freelance, it's kind of a non-negotiable. But even in general, I think some things just, you can't put a price on them. Like different photos, it's just, you wouldn't want to lose them. A good friend of mine explained this to me a while ago, and that is your circle of people. How you have an inner circle and then there are rings around that inner circle. I consider the people I talk to on a daily basis the ones in that inner circle, and the ones I talk to on a weekly basis the ones the next, and it just kind of ripples like that. Every year this is something that I take a look at along with my goals and vision boarding. Honestly, who you surround yourself by is probably one of the most important things in your life, in my opinion, because that's who you're going to become more like, that's who you'll be inspired by, that's who will push you to do things or tell you not to do things, or advise you, for a lack of a better term. Especially, you know, since graduating high school, life has changed so much in regards to the people that have moved in and out of my life with different seasons, whether I've been living in Michigan, whether I've been traveling abroad, or whether I'm now in New York. Definitely tons of people have come in and out, and there have been some that have stayed, a lot that have gone, and some that I want to keep in touch with on, you know, an annual or bi-monthly basis. And so just having this circle set where I can see it again visually is helpful, and just really a reflective activity for me. I love Goodreads. I don't know why some people hate on it. I've been organizing shelves by years for a while, and I kind of like it. I made a 2024, 2023, and at the end of the year, I just put all the books that I wanted to read in that year on that shelf. Previously, my goal has been to read a book bi-weekly, which is about 26 books per year. I managed to read 23 last year, but I think the goal is getting a bit ambitious, and so I'm gonna lower it to 20 and hopefully surpass it. I like doing this, and it's not a strict thing. It's not like I have to read all of these books. Books can be taken off and put back onto the shelf. But as a library lover and also a very indecisive person sometimes, it's nice to be able to go to the library and then check my Goodreads, because instead of just walking around aimlessly, I can be like, oh, I already have a list of things that I want to read, or if I finish a book, I can go to Libby and find something online. Also, I've finally gotten to the point where if I'm reading a book and I've read it long enough to be like, I'm not enjoying this, I quit the book. Because for some reason that's revolutionary, because I just don't like quitting books. But honestly, if it's just not that good, you can just skim it or let it go. Meal prepping is smart. Meal prepping is good for you. Meal prepping is ideal. Do I do it all the time or super consistently? Not as much as I'd like to. I love food, but sometimes I just find it really inconvenient that we have to eat so often as humans. All this to say, I use the notes in iPhone because I love that you can just link things directly in notes, and it hyperlinks with a preview with the food. I also use Google Keep. Again, Google a lot. I have so many historical things on Keep, I can't stop using it, but I would say for the day-to-day, I am using notes for especially meal prepping. Meal prepping and writing down what you have in a running list is so helpful, because if you can't figure out what you want the next week, you can just go through all of your historical things and be like, okay, what's something I've made in the past that I know I can whip up together quickly for this future week. Some of my go-tos are spinach banana pancakes, overnight oats, and tons of different soups. Also avocado toast, but I don't really log that anymore. Additionally, someone told me that they're using ChatGPT to make their grocery list. Like, they'll put in the recipes and be like, make me a grocery list out of these items, which is very next level, and I might try that. Hopefully this gives you some things to work off for the new year. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked, don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe and let me know what you think down below. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.